Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media. We're so happy that you're here today. We forget that the water cycle and the life cycle are one. Jacques Yves Cousteau. Today, we welcome Riggs Elkenberry, a tech pioneer at the intersection of crypto and water, who is using novel technologies to alert the public on the dying state of modern water infrastructure while offering groundbreaking solutions. Well, welcome, Mr. Riggs. I'm going to call you Riggs because that's a lot. That shows up in my mouth better.
It's kind of like Lethal Weapon, right?
Yeah. Wow. So tell our audience what this is about.
Well, first of all, I love your sweater. Just want to say that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, it's interesting because you mentioned modern water infrastructure, and the problem really is in our country and most developed countries of the world is our water infrastructure is not modern. It's actually antiquated and it's underfunded. We've seen, and especially, less favored neighborhoods have been harmed. We've seen that in Flint, Michigan, and Jackson, Mississippi, and Compton, California. Why is that? Well, first of all, there's a general degradation because research has shown that we are underfunding our water requirements by $75 billion a year. And, the administration put out a $1.2 trillion infrastructure plan, which is great, but it only had $55 billion for water, which is not even 1 year's catch up. And so we have a problem where the old is just not getting fixed. And I do not believe it will be. It's important to recognize when things just aren't going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to be 28 anytime soon. Just saying.
Wow. Wow. And I can believe you on that. The water goes up, but I don't see anything going on where I'm getting information from my water company saying that they're doing this and they're doing that. And I don't think I've ever gotten anything.
The water rates keep going up, the service goes down, and the quality of the water doesn't get better. And so how do we solve this problem? Because, water is a human right. We have a right to clean water. But like, for example, in Ireland, water is free, right? Well, how do they achieve that? The thing is to really recognize that 89% of all water usage is by industry and agriculture. In America, it's about 50-50. Other countries, it's like where there's not a lot of industry, it might be much more agriculture. But generally, it's a mix. Okay. If you remove that demand, now the utilities could have no problem at all doing a great job for humans, for human beings. And so we believe that it's very, very important, it's vital, it's really the only way forward, is to enable businesses to do their own water management. And there's good economic reasons. They're actually delighted to do it if they're given a good opportunity. And so imagine in one scenario, let's imagine that somehow you had $75 billion to spend on water this year alone. Well, first of all, everything's all built up out there. Where are you going to put these sewage plants? Nobody wants to have a sewage plant next to where they live. Right. Secondly, it's going to take 20 years of tearing up streets and this and that. And meanwhile, the water's still screwed up. So why not just enable treatment at the point of use where people make water dirty, let them clean it up where they are. And what's even better is if they're treating the water, they can reuse the water, right? Whereas right now, if I use my water, I flush it down the toilet or out of my factory, it goes to the sewage plant and then it goes treated, but it goes away. America only recycles 1% of its water. So then we complain about these huge droughts and yet we're throwing away our water. That's ridiculous.
Wow. Yes, I have to agree with you. And we never think about it. We never, as consumers, we don't think about it.
Yep.
Only when it goes bad, when we noticeably know that it's going bad, then we think about it. But on the normal basis, we turn the faucet on, we turn the shower on, long as it comes on, everything's great. And I
Right.
like your philosophy in terms of recycling, because like you said, we're getting into more droughts and things of that nature across the entire globe. So we have to find a way to reserve water. We have to find a way. Wow.
Especially after you've gone to all the trouble of cleaning it up and now you're going to throw it away.
Right.
What's
Which
that?
makes no sense whatsoever. None whatsoever. Wow. Talk a little bit about the market, the water filtration market. And, they're making all this money, but they're not really thinking outside the box, like you just mentioned.
Correct. So now, to be clear, I'm not really, we're not focused ourselves in the single family home market, which is very standardized. It's a mass market. And from what I can tell, it's got some good players in it to do a decent job of cleaning up what really should be clean in the first place. But we know the cities aren't really giving us great water.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing a fine job. Okay. But looking just a bit bigger in terms of groups, like, for example, housing developments or breweries or factories or farms, they are big users of water.
Mm-hmm.
And what our proposal, we really came to this in stages. First of all, we were like, okay, 2016, some important research came out that said that water decentralization, meaning the water treatment by the people themselves, the industries themselves, was the new trend. And nobody believed it. I kept saying it. People were like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. But by 2018, I had found a technology that was perfect for these small water systems in a box. Called, the brand we built was called Modular Water Systems. It's now very, very strong. And it basically miniaturizes these big water systems for a business. So that was step one.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, okay, it's going to solve all the problems. We're good. We're good. Unfortunately, it grew very, very slowly. And by the time we got to COVID, we were like, okay, we got to do something to accelerate things. And that's when we came upon the idea of, wait a minute, what if we also took away the financial problem so that a business didn't have to go into debt to buy a water system? They would just pay for it as a service by the gallon, just like they're used to, put it on the meter, right? And this became what we call water on demand. And it treats water like a service. And we've now been growing this, and it's now combined with our modular water business. It's really the perfect mid-market solution, not the giant, Coca-Colas of the world. No, we're talking about regular businesses that need everyday water treatment. We can come to them and go, okay, you need to spend $800,000 on your water system, but don't bother. Sign here. You'll get it by the gallon and fully maintained, and you can get on with your business. And that has been proving to be very popular. And we launched earlier this year a company called Water on Demand, which we're now planning to roll out and become a major player for this new pay per gallon business, what we call water like an oil well.
Oh, okay. I like that. And it's affordable for the most part. And small businesses can actually have clean water. But how do you get the small businesses to recognize that this is a huge issue?
Well, true. First of all, I'm an old technologist. I was in the .com. I was a software guy. And you don't start with the skeptics. You start with the enthusiasts. In every group, there's a few people who go, yeah, I'll do it, right? Those are the people you talk to, not the people who go, I don't think so. You're going to take a long time to convince me, No. You're just like, fine, we'll get back to you. Instead, we go to the enthusiasts. You go, okay, you like the idea? Because you know that the water rates are skyrocketing faster than regular inflation, and the local utility is giving you a hard time. We'll take the problem off your plate. Don't worry about it. And these people, if you pinpoint the early adopters, that's who you work with, because this is $1 trillion market. What are you going to do? All of them all at once? No,
Right.
you choose the people who are going to be the most viral adopters, who are going to be the most excited about it, the champions, shall we say. And that's really what we're starting with. And then over time, it becomes a thing that everybody does, and it almost self-markets itself.
Yes, because people begin to talk, word of mouth kicks in. Yeah. And that next thing you know, is another business is doing it. To just do the chatter, so to speak. Wow. This is definitely interesting. Very, very interesting. I hope our audience is really taking some notes on this. So your water technology company, was it OriginClear? Is this like the new company that you're launching? Is that like a subsidiary of this?
We think of ourselves, OriginClear, we think of ourselves as the industry's first incubator for new water companies. The water industry, strangely enough, has no incubators. In technology, there's a ton of them, not in water. So we really are the first. And so we're kind of the mothership. We develop these new ideas, roll them out, and we provide all the administrative support. And so we are now rolling out water on demand. And then we got more planned that we've been developing and building up that will be rolled out later. And so people can invest in OriginClear. It's a public company, ticker symbol OCLN. We'd love it when people invest. If they are what we call accredited, they can go to originclear.com, click on Invest Now, and find out how they can get a whole royalty type arrangement. Very exciting. Or they're going to get an opportunity very soon to invest in water on demand through what's called a Regulation A offering, which means for unaccredited investors.
Okay. I'm writing this down.
So water on demand, you're going to be able to invest no more than $1,000 or a minimum of $1,000 to the limit of 10% of your annual income in something that is brand new. And that is, what's great is that Regulation A is specifically designed so that companies can then, through that process, go public with small investors, not the big 1% investors, small everyday investors. And I think I've had this business OriginClear for more than a decade, and we've always had to work with high-end investors. And I don't think it's fair. I mean, why do all the advantages go to the 1%? I mean, I'm tired of that. What I like is the idea. Just now, some political candidates do very well with a lot of small donations. Very similarly, we want water demand to be built as a movement, to have a lot of people come on board and join us to basically create this financing network that's going to pay for water systems so the users don't have to, and new technology that fits in these small sites. And this is really the new thing. It's not going to be the big ponderous water companies that build, mausoleums for water. No, small, compact, modular systems that fit in the back of your brewery or your beverage company or whatever. And that is really the coming thing. And so it's miniaturized. We have patents for that. So it's unique for us. And we also have this unique way of making the money a no-brainer, that people just sign on a dotted line. We take care of the finance. And I think that's going to accelerate adoption of this new way of treating water.
Yes, it sounds like it. And it sounds like a lot of people, small businesses, need to really take heed to this, especially if your product includes water, some type of water. You definitely want to be, conscientious about the safety of the water that you're putting in your product.
It takes, a brewery takes 7 to 8 quarts of water to make 1 quart of beer. Now, shouldn't you reuse some of that water? You don't have to use it to make beer, but you can reuse about half of it to do, steam vessels and wash downs and so forth. And that would reduce your water use, by 50%. Well, that's important, right? And that's stuff that people are hurting all over the place. You look at Lake Mead, the bathtub rings on Lake Mead are getting lower and lower, I saw the Mississippi has mud flats now for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Centuries. They're discovering old shipwrecks that are emerging from the mud because they haven't. This is a disaster. So not just California or Nevada, but the whole Midwest is in trouble.
Mhm.
And there's other countries that have, either now, sometimes they have not enough water, sometimes they have way too much. It's all being unbalanced. And what we have to have is much better water management. Now, I'm not going to be in charge of spending the trillions of dollars for the big projects, but I believe that we can get a lot of small players to make change happen.
Yes, and then what'll end up happening from the small people, the bigger people will start noticing.
Exactly. You're precisely right. It'll become more and more like, let me give you an example. Miami-Dade County, when they first built that county, they didn't have much urban planning. And so they allowed about 100,000 homes to be built with septic tanks in the county. Well, septic tanks over time, they leak, they cause trouble, illness, et cetera. And so now they say, well, we gotta get rid of these. And they now want to send out sewage lines to each one of those homes. And it's just going to cost $6 billion. It'll actually cost 16 billion. You know that.
Mhm, right.
And it's going to take 20 years and streets torn up and all that. Well, why not just have a rebate program that says, you know what, if you put a recirculation system in your own home, we'll give you a rebate on your property tax or whatever. And done, right? Simple. But this is what you're saying is very true. We have to show that this idea works.
Mhm.
So that then, because look, the county commission is about the last people to take risks. They don't want to have any trouble.
Right.
And so they need to know it's for sure, it works, it's good. And that's going to take time. Change in water industry moves very slowly, in part because it's a public health concern. It's fine. But at the same time, there's a lot of issues that are being created by that lack of the inability to adapt.
Yes, and paying it and being really open, because a lot of people, businesses, like you said, in government, they're not open. They don't want to think outside the box, and that's what you really have to do. That's what you really have to do.
So you find, this was, I got into water by complete, I don't know, it was a long story, but I was a tech guy in the .com. And for me, it was all about, something brand new, and you get, the first people to want an iPad. These other people are like, why would I need an iPad? It just, I don't know, I have to use my finger and all that. But some people get excited. So you work with the people who get excited.
Mhm.
And so I'm transferring that idea of high-tech adoption, what Microsoft calls attachment. People get attached to something. So to the water industry and this new model, by the way, the pay per gallon model already exists at the high end. There's companies that do it for entire island economies, for example, where island will get, in the Bahamas or whatever, will get a private utility that'll do things on the meter, and it works very well. But that's big, this $10, $20 million project. We're talking about things that are, in the $500 to $3 million range, which the big guys don't want to do. It's a lot of trouble, that they're not built for it. But we think that there's an opportunity. And one of the things we've decided to do is we are not going to try and build all these machines ourselves.
Mhm.
There's plenty of water companies out there. We'll finance it. We'll do the deal. Let's say you're based in Seattle. You want to have a water system. We'll do the deal. And we'll hand it off to a water company in Seattle to build it and maintain it. And this is going to be very good for all the local water companies. And that way we don't have this amazing, huge headache of, now I got to fly to Seattle because there's a problem.
Yes, yes.
So it's important not to try and do everything yourself, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. In any business, for sure.
Yeah.
Because then when you try to do it all, you create additional issues for yourself that you don't really need to have if you just hand it off. So if companies want to contact you and work with you, how do they do so?
Very simple. They go on to the OriginClear.com, and there's a technology section. And there's forms on that, but they can just email water@originclear.com, and they will, they can just, that will go to our tech people, and their needs will be taken care of. If they're interested in investing, of course, as I said, they can go to the invest button at the top of the OriginClear.com site. And above all, because this this Invest for Everybody thing that I've been talking about is not yet approved by the SEC, they should sign up for my weekly briefings. Just when you first go to OriginClear.com, you'll get an invitation. And every week, we're about the only public company in America where the CEO gets on a Zoom call every week. And I've done it for more than almost 200 weeks now. And we tell you what's going on. And it's very, very popular. Every single comment gets answered. We're very transparent. And that's how you can stay in touch. And I really strongly recommend that your listenership sign up for that.
Yes, that's really good. And I like the CEO face approach, because a lot of times, CEOs get big or they get busy and they no longer want to touch the customer. In the early years, they eager to touch. But now when they get too big, it's just too much. And I think that's important. The transparency, the people can talk to you and learn from you. That's huge. Wow.
Well, all companies are really known by how happy their investors are.
Yes.
Now, we're still a penny stock, but our longtime investors are super loyal. They're like, yeah, Riggs, this is exciting. They're so dedicated, and they trust us and believe in us by now. We've always tried to do the right thing by them. And so I think the power. It's just, if you're a political candidate, that's what you need. And I think it's also true of a public company. Very true.
Mm-hmm. Or any company for that matter. You need to have your customers need to trust you in order to do business with you. So that is absolutely a no-brainer, really. So crypto.
You'd be surprised though. As you said, so many CEOs at first are like, oh yeah. And then once they got a little bit of cash, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah,
right.
I'm not going to take those meetings anymore.
Yeah, they start to forget where they came from, and to me, you should always be humble, because things could change at a blink of an eye. You could be.
And you see everybody on the way down, right?
Yes, exactly. That saying is so true. So talk a little bit about the crypto and how that connects to what you're doing.
Well, as you know, crypto is going through an interesting time.
Yes, it is.
It's like, oh Lord. And I'm a hodl, hang on for dear life. I just fine, whatever. I just leave it in my wallet and I forget about it. But we do know that it's a lot of this stuff's going to wash out. Eventually, I think it'll clean up. But meanwhile, we did for a long time want to develop, and we think this still should happen, a water coin. Why is that so? And it's because today water is only local. There's no way that if I have a water risk in Vallejo, California, I can't buy options on Singapore water to offset my risk. I can't do it. It's impossible. There's no market, right? Mm-hmm. And so why is that so? It's because there's no uniform pricing of water. But if we start having water as a service, then people are paying by the gallon. So every single gallon of water in the system is monetized. There's money attached to that gallon. And so eventually when you have a water coin, and this is a future plan of ours, not a current one, eventually when you have a water coin, it is a hard asset. It's not like this FTX thing that was all built on who knows what.
Right.
I can't even believe what's going on with FTX. It's being completely whitewashed and everything's great. And we know why, because the high and mighty took a lot of money from FTX, but
yes,
this is not a political show, so I won't go down that road. But let me tell you something, pigs at the trough, and Republicans, Democrats, both. I'm not saying it's a party thing. Everybody had a shot. But what we want to build is a hard asset where the coin represents actual water value, where there's money attached to that water treatment through these contracts. So it's an aggregation of contracts. I'm going to let this, I can't do it now. There's a couple of reasons. Number one, I got to build the underlying business. No sense in throwing out a coin when there's no business there.
Right.
Number two, the Securities and Exchange Commission does not love crypto.
Well, we know that.
So I am not going to complicate my life right now because I'm a public company and they are my Lord and Master. And so I'm just going to let that be for a while. Eventually, there will be time to do one of these things where it's more like a bond. It's really more like a bond. And I think that's going to have, it's only going to be a crypto in the sense that it'll be easier to transfer, but it'll be an actual commodity hard asset. And I think that's the way crypto is going to be healthy, is where it's backed by something solid, right? Not this craziness. And that's where I think the future is, and that's what we're going to do. But it's something that we've done a lot of research on. I love it. It's a great idea. We're going to let it happen probably a couple of years, something like that. We're going to build that underlying business.
Yes, and I like that idea. You definitely think outside the box for sure. I love it.
Well, reality does catch up with you, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. And you have to be, you really got to think things through. The state of our world, as we see it, is in trouble at so many levels.
Yeah.
And we need all the people that, like yourself, to care about it and do what they can to educate and to make changes so that the world is better for our children and their children.
Well, we owe that, and we also owe it. There's been too many shenanigans financially, frankly, for really since the year 2000 crash, .com, and then it went on to the 2008 crash, and nobody ever actually gets called to account for it. And I think the middle class gets hurt by it. So I think it's important to do something where regular everyday investors can do well. They know what they're getting. They get well rewarded for it. And they build, water. Water is not going to go up and down because there's always going to be more there's always going to be more dirty water. There's always going to be less fresh water available. Climate change is going to always create, problems. And then we have these urban problems with the infrastructure. Water is going to be, a solid thing for a long time to come. And so I think it makes a lot of sense for this to be kind of a good anchor investment for people that enables all these problems to be resolved over time by more of a movement than a single company. I don't see this as a problem that we alone will solve. In fact, Water on Demand is going to will be franchising different water demand centers in other financial centers like Dubai, Singapore, Tokyo, that will do the same for their regional water needs. Just replicate the thing. But first, we got to get the initial one right.
Yes.
And I'm having fun with it. I mean, this is everything that I've worked for in my career. This is it. I'm finally, it's all, I've made plenty of mistakes. And now I'm just like, okay, I think I got this.
So again, how do companies reach out to you? How do people advocate, the whole 9 yards?
Okay. This wonderful modular water packaging system is modularwater.com, and they can go there. They can go to OriginClear and just go to technology, and there's a form. They can, if they're interested in investing, as I said, they can go to the Invest Now button, or they can send an email to water@originclear.com if they want to do a commercial deal, invest@originclear.com if they want to invest. Also, here's a deep, dark secret. If you sign up for one of my newsletters, it goes to 40,000 people. If someone hits reply, it goes to my inbox and I reply.
Wow.
So you can always be in touch with me. Just when you get one of my emails, just hit reply. Hey, Riggs, why haven't you thought of doing blah, blah? And we will be in a conversation.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Riggs, for bringing all of our awareness up. We don't think about water until it ain't right, like most things. So thank you so much for bringing our levels up to think about what is really going on with our water system, and having this plan to do something about it that's cost effective.
We need those solutions, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Well, I am definitely looking forward to chatting with you again because in keeping our audiences in, in connection with this, because sometimes people got to hear things a couple of times before they get their aha moment. And, I like doing that with our guests because it just makes sense to me to keep things in the forefront of people's minds so that they take action.
Not only that, you want to hear that I've made progress. Riggs was talking about A, B, and C.
Yes.
6 months from now, let's see if he actually did some of that. It's a healthy thing.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you so much. And audience, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you as well. And if you have questions or comments to just minding my business, please feel free to reach out. We definitely connect with all of our interviewees, and we will definitely let them know if there's something that they liked about what our interviewees said. So thank you so much, and blessings to everyone.
Thank you, Ida, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience. I would like to wish everyone a happy holiday and stay safe and warm. And think of what's important in the world, your family, and the spiritual side of things. At the end of the day, that's all there is.
Yes, absolutely.